Okay.
I couldn't get unmuted. Hi, Chair Price. Sorry.
Hello. Pardon my Raider regalia if anybody's a Charger fan or anything, but you know, that's just the way it is.
Not anymore.
Well, how do you think I feel with all the movement that the Raiders have had over the last 50 years?
I know. Yes, it is a shame.
I had to come to a conclusion that I'm a Raider fan, and if they move to Mars, I'm still a Raider fan.
That's funny.
And an Oakland Raider fan, they just happen to be in Mars, like they happen to be in Vegas right now.
When the Chargers left, I went cold turkey on the NFL.
Yeah, that was kind of rude the way they left. And now there's a stadium being built down there in Mission Valley. And they kept saying they couldn't build one. Okay. Sebastian, I'm looking for the agenda.
Yeah. Here it is, if you have the screen in front of you.
So we've done the welcome. Please take the roll call.
Sounds good. Let's see here. Ed Lopez,
Present.
Anna Webb,
Present.
excuse me, Secretary Webb, Carolyn Schofield,
Present.
Tom Summers,
Here.
David Harris,
Present.
Jen Dirks,
Present.
Gary Johns,
Present.
Matthew Vasilakis,
Present.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Present.
and Chair Price.
Present.
Perfect. We have a quorum.
Do we have any public comments?
Last time I checked, we did not have any submitted public comments. But for any members of the public, if you wish to give an agenda public comment, please raise your hand. I see no hands raised, Chair Price.
Okay. How many people from the public are with us?
2.
Okay. So the next item is item number 5, discuss and provide recommendation to the board on restructuring the CAC membership format. And I believe this is because of the county joining us, and I believe National City is attempting to join us as soon as possible.
That's correct, Chair Price. And I can take the lead on this item.
Okay, please.
So excuse me if I look like I'm shivering a little bit, because I am. It's a little bit cold over here.
It's 90 degrees out here, Sebastian. How are you shivering?
Well, where we work, it's very cold and unsustainable. So anyways, that's besides the point. Apologies for that. So a quick background. Obviously, as you all know, when we first set up the Community Advisory Committee, we wanted as much participation as possible from our community. And in doing so, we set up a two primary member structure for the Community Advisory Committee. And that's why we have 2 members each today. Now, with that, it created a 10-member CAC. That was a good number. However, now with the County of San Diego and with National City having voted to join us, and to premise this, the SSCP board has voted to approve county membership. They'll be voting to approve National City membership next Thursday. But all roads head to that being approved. So under the current membership format, the CAC would grow to 14 members and beyond if more jurisdictions were to join. We acknowledge that can create a larger than desirable committee. Having more people is obviously, you have more ideas and more brains, but that also means longer meetings. And as you all know, lately they've gone a little bit longer, and it's also, more brains in the kitchen. Staff has looked at the size of other CACs throughout the state and for other CCAs. And the largest CAC that exists is with Clean Power Alliance. They are made up of 15 members. And as you all know, Clean Power Alliance is made up of more than 30 member jurisdictions. So they have put a cap on the size of their community advisory committee.
And how do they deal with those extra members?
So they have a regional representation format where they break up not into member agencies, but into regions. So it's broken up into South LA County, East LA County, etc. We felt as staff that, and we have two proposals for you all. We thought as staff that we're not there if we were to consider such a proposal, more so because we received feedback that could not fully represent some of the smaller member jurisdictions that make up San Diego Community Power. But again, if we all 18 jurisdictions in the county were to join us, then that may be an option that we would have to consider in the future. So with that, we wanted to get into the two options that staff has put together for you all. Option one is that we keep, I have two screens up. So option one is that we keep the current structure where the CAC grows to 14 members with the county and national city. However, if another jurisdiction were to join STCP, this would trigger a switch from 2 primary members into 1 primary and 1 alternate. So staff is comfortable growing the CAC to 14 members. However, if we grow past 14, then we would go back to you all and work with your respective board representatives and start the process of moving into 1 primary, 1 alternate.
Would the alternate be able to serve on committees that we may or may not form?
We can work out the logistics then, but I would imagine so. We would have to check with legal, but for example, in a hypothetical situation, Eddie, you're the primary, Matt is the alternate. If Eddie, you can attend, say, the ad hoc work plan committee, then you can send Matt as your alternate, as long as both of you are aware of what's going on in the work and can keep San Diego be represented very well.
And that's kind of my primary concern, is to make sure that whether they're the primary or the alternate, they're involved in whatever we're deciding or trying to do.
Yeah, and we would encourage each set of representatives to work together offline if there's a particular issue that may affect, I don't know, the city of Encinitas more than the city of La Mesa. I would encourage that the Encinitas representatives, both the primary and alternate, meet and confer to strategize and best represent your member agency. So I definitely see ways of making it work if we were to move to the primary and alternate format.
And how would that work with the officers?
With the officers, we would have to work one-on-one with you all. If there's an officer that becomes an alternate, then we would have to look at it on a case-by-case format. I think those are hypotheticals now that could go one way or the other. But I think staff is flexible in making this work for everybody. We saw this as an opportunity to make sure that the committee works for you all, that we have a good size that's not too big, but not too small. So, so option one maintains the current structure but it sets the stage for change if growth continues to happen. At this point, we don't anticipate more growth happening, at least in the next year. However, that could change. So option 2 is that we maintain the current structure of 1 rep, 1 alt, of 2 reps until July 1st of next year, which is when the first set of terms end for several of you. Once that date is reached, the committee moves into the 1 primary, 1 alternate format. Determining who will be the primary and alternate will be left. We would leave that decision to you all, as well as your board representative. To ensure that the county and national city reps join as soon as possible, they may join under the current format, but with the caveat that they know that one of them will be a primary, one of them will be an alternate until the 1st of July.
And who makes that decision?
Of
Primary and alternate.
we leave that decision to the board representative. So in the case of whoever appointed you, we would leave that decision to them and for them to work it out with you all. Option 2 ensures that the CAC grows sustainably. It does kick in the new format sooner. However, if the group doesn't feel comfortable in moving in that direction now, then option 1 may be more suitable to you all in terms of setting the stage for when we do grow a little bit more. So in terms of next steps, either option requires a vote. When the CAC was first formed, they set a membership criteria form. And if you may recall, when you were all submitting your applications to join the CAC, that was one of the forms that you had to review and agree on. So that form would have to be updated by the board, and that would set the stage for the recruitment for the County of San Diego National City reps to join at the end of this year, early next year. But the timing is still fluid, but staff anticipates releasing applications in December for the new CAC representatives, and then we're aiming to have those members seated sometime in March. So I'll pause right there, and I'll defer to you, Chair Price.
Well, when will the county and the national city members be seated to the board of directors?
At the December board meeting.
So next month.
Next month, yeah.
But the process for the primary and alternate for the community advisory committee is not going to happen until March.
So the process, we would have to release applications. So what we're doing now is setting the stage for updating the application and the membership form that goes out into the public, and the folks in unincorporated San Diego County and the national city would review when they apply. Our aim is that we would go through all the applications, the board representatives and their staff would go through the applications and then let us know end of February, say, hey, Rita, hey, Sebastian, John Smith or Jane Doe is going to join. And then our goal is to have those members seated at the March CAC meeting.
So between December and March, these new municipalities won't have any representation on the Community Advisory Council.
They will not, and with the holidays coming up, we want to give folks enough time to submit applications. Once those applications are closed, then those applications are sent to the board representatives and their staff and then we give them a few weeks to review the applications, perhaps conduct interviews, and then let us know who will be the reps for the CAC.
Okay, I don't know if that's fair to the potential reps or the municipalities, but okay. And I don't know how anybody else feels about this. Are there any questions from any of the other committee members about this process?
Yeah, Eddie, I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom Summers. I've looked at these two options and I really don't have a preference. I think they're both good. What I don't see addressed is the alternate, will the alternate be sitting in case of inability by the primary to not be able to attend? And how would that work, Sebastian?
Yeah. If the primary cannot attend, he or she or they would inform us and hopefully work with the alternate to let staff know that the alternate will be attending on their place. So yeah, absolutely. We envision that happening with you all, and if the direction is to have alternates, then we can fine tune that a little bit more in terms of policies and procedures in our operating guidelines document, if you all recall, that we have for you all. But yeah, we would definitely envision participation from the alternates.
Thanks.
Is there a way to kind of make it mandatory that the alternates attend all of our meetings also, so that they're up to date and with critical information? Because, you know, up to this point, the Community Advisory Committee has been kind of fluid, and we kind of address problems as they arise. And if an alternate isn't aware of these things, it may gum up the works.
I think on requiring that the alternates attend would, I would say, defeat the purpose of what staff is proposing, which is to create a manageable size of the committee. If we, obviously the alternates are encouraged and can attend meetings as they see fit, but they would be in a public attendance fashion, not be part of the committee of the discussion like it's happening today. Where
yeah,
we
and
see
that may be fine, and it may just be me, but you know, it would be nice to make sure that the alternates, as well as the primary, both have the same information and have heard the same things from the same people at the same time.
Yeah, and as it happens now with the current board, when documents are sent out, they're sent out to the alternates as well. We envision that each set of representatives, San Diego, for example, would work together offline on the issues that arise during the CAC meeting, and then that the representative, whether it be the primary or alternate that attends the meeting, they represent both voices of that member agency.
Okay, I think it's David, Matthew, and Anna, or David, Anna, and Matthew. I'm not quite sure which order that one. I know David was first.
Thanks, Eddie. Chair Price, I just wanted to say, in the interest of self-preservation, that I favor option one. And I would make a motion to approve option one for the restructuring of the CAC.
You would make a motion, or you are making a motion?
I am making a motion
Oh.
to approve option one for the CAC.
Point of order. I believe we're still in the discussion portion because other hands are raised. If I'm correct.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know if you're correct, but that makes sense, Anna. So, Anna?
Well, can I just add one thing then, if my motion is not valid at this point? The reason I favor option one is because I think one of the most important things on the CAC is to have diversity. And I think, with me representing Jewish people and other representation here on this committee, that the larger committee is more desirable. That's it.
Okay, Anna, you had your.
Yes, first of all, I wanted to address the alternates attending. I think, in my opinion, it should be mandatory that they attend. In the attendee part of the participants where they can't really speak, but they can sit in every meeting and should sit in every meeting and hear exactly what's going on and being said. That's one thing I would like to speak to. The second thing is, I know my tenure ends in July, on July 1st. So we would be up for finding a new community member here anyway. Tom's goes on for another year. So I do appreciate what David is saying about option one. But in my opinion, so David, you're basically saying that you'd rather gamble on being able to keep less than 14 people. What I'm thinking is we're going to kind of have a changeover anyway in July. But now I feel like I'm waffling, so I'm done.
Can I mention something, Chair Price?
Sure.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the first terms end in July. However, Anna, definitely don't want to speak for you, but if you wish to continue, you can renew your term. We would just have to work with Mayor Dedina on that. And you can continue, so.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Matthew?
Thank you. Just for clarity, Sebastian, for option one, would that automatically, if they go over 14, it automatically triggers option two, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I echo David's perspective on this. I would prefer to follow with what we've had. I also, just looking at kind of the regional political landscape, there aren't really any other cities that could join STCP at this point, just given the politics of where the other cities are. The only one that I can think of is maybe Lemon Grove, but like, that's a big maybe. So I think I'm more comfortable with option one, just considering I think we would be at this size for some time, unless something really big happens and we get a whole bunch of other jurisdictions that are interested. That's it.
Thank you. I think I saw somebody's hand up. Tara, I know I see your hand up, Tara.
I just raised it, so I think Gary was before me and Carolyn.
Okay, Gary.
Yeah, I favor option one because this entails going from, either option entails from going from 14 people down to a smaller size. And option one, the lowest small size would be 8, whereas it'd be 7 in option 2. So that is my rationale for favoring option 1.
Okay, Tara.
Carolyn, and then I'll go, if that's all right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, my comment is there have been a lot of comments already about how to keep the alternates involved, and then it seems like the members would have to be speaking to the alternates, and they would be, we would want them to come to the meetings and all of those issues. And I think that that makes option one, it might take a little bit longer at meetings perhaps, but I think it will take longer behind the scenes too, because we'll have to try to keep up with what the alternate is doing and, all of those things on top of it. It's a lot easier if we're just all there and we hear everything at the same time with the, number of 14. Thanks.
Tara, can I call on you now, Tara?
Thank you so much. Well, they had been raising their hands first, so it was fair. I was wondering, I know, Sebastian, you said staff is comfortable with 14. With what Matt said, the possibility is low for others adding maybe Lemon Grove. Is there flexibility for us to change it to 16, option 1 with 16 maximum members, since it sounds like the CAC does like having 2 representatives? So I'm just asking if that's a possibility. So yes.
That's a great curveball right there. I would defer to Rita on this. Sorry, Rita, but just to kind of set the stage, what we could do is, I don't know, I don't want to speculate and brainstorm on the spot, but we personally, I feel like maybe that could be manageable, but again, the purpose is what works for you all, and having a productive CAC. But again, that's just my own personal take. I'll defer to Rita on this.
Well, and you know, to that point, if it's kind of what we want, and it's been said that, you know, 16 may work based upon the hypothetical situations of possibly Lemon Grove joining, but this topic and conversation was predicated behind the staff wanting 14, right? And so that's kind of where it kind of gets kind of hairy at, right? If we after concluding that 16 might be a better number to deal with, how would staff deal with that? Would you guys just deal with 16 or what?
I can answer that one since I've worked with you guys the longest. Just obviously, the more people means more a little bit more work for staff. But I think growing by 1 more, that's a very marginal change that could be smaller. If the CAC does feel strong about that, we can recommend that to the board, and letting the board know that that would take a little bit more staff time in terms of setting up meetings and finding, you know, eventually when COVID does die down, finding a big enough space to accommodate everybody with enough resources and everything like that. So we can certainly move forward that recommendation, and then see what the board decides on.
Rita?
I think that if everyone feels strongly about having 2 reps, then we should give it a try. I don't mean to add further curveballs here, but we could also see how it feels with 14, and, you know, kind of reevaluate after we've worked with a group of 14. What I hear Sebastian saying is that it's hard to find time when everyone's available, and it might be a space issue.
Charles?
I think you mean Tom. Yeah, I was, this is a very good discussion. Thank you, all of you people, and especially the point about mandatory attendance by the alternate. I was kind of looking for using the recording feature to stay abreast of the you know, in real time, the decision-making process. And to David's point about, and maybe perhaps I misunderstood about representing his community, I joined this committee to represent everybody in my town, and I think we're accomplishing that. And so if the alternate isn't attending in real time, he or she can still make his or her voice heard at at the meetings, as well as a member of the public on the board of director meetings. And so I don't see it as a lessening of our influence or voice just because we've been relegated to alternate status. And I was assuming that I would become an alternate because Anna is an officer and she represents our town very, very well. So I see it kind of as a moot point in regards to the numbers and whether or not the alternates should be attending in real time. Because I think most of us are committed enough to seek out the recording as soon as it goes up. I know I've done that in the past when I've missed out. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thanks.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, sorry about that. Needed to find the unmute button. I profess no strong feelings, to be honest, for either option 1 or option 2. I think they both lead down the same pathway towards a different structure to the committee over time. And I know everybody's been involved with meetings and in groups, both small, mid-size, and large. But I've seen that you can reach numbers that get a bit too challenging and wieldy. Attendance, presence, quorum, accommodating all, working within schedules and what have you. So I do find mindful staff's statements in the particulars with regards to ultimately focusing on a advisory committee and a structure that again is manageable and workable. But again, since I have no strong feelings, it seems to me it's really down to a question of when this might occur. And as if I understood staff correctly, there's no immediate triggering moment at the present. So I would not oppose option 1 if that's a consensus of the committee to go forth. But I do think in the end, moving towards a primary and alternate scenario, and that's one I've seen numerous times in various organizations and groups, I can support that as well. But again, unless I'm mishearing, and it seems like with other comments as well, that it's not likely to get beyond 8 or 16 literal members, I don't think there's a need to reach option 2 just at the moment, for what it's worth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Jen?
Yeah, I just wanted to second everything Tom Summers said. So I don't need to re-say it, but I agree that an alternate could be just as informed and collaborative with their counterpart and still have an impact and make it less logistically complicated for the managing of this group.
Thank you. Anna?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to thank Rita and Sebastian for clearing that up because I was thinking Zoom, but we're going to be in person at some point. So I get that. So thanks for the clarification.
Okay, any other comments? Carolyn?
Oh, I just wanted to say thanks to Sebastian and Rita too, and for bringing up the staffing perspective. So I think that's important. And if there's a way to reevaluate, have a specific time that we would reevaluate. I actually think that would be really important because once we switch, especially from virtual to meeting in person, that's going to make a change. And so that might be a time that we might be able to reevaluate. Thank you.
Ed, do you have something else to say, sir? No. Okay, are there any other comments or anything?
I don't see any hands raised in the public, but we can give them just a few seconds to see if they want to do that. And I don't see any.
Okay, David, would you like to restate your motion? I think that's where we're at now.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would move approval of option 1.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by David to move approval of option 1. How do we vote?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Anna. So Sebastian, would you like to call the vote?
Yes. Ed Lopez,
Yes.
Gary Johns,
Yes.
David Harris,
Yes.
Carolyn Schofield,
Yes.
Jen Dirks,
No.
Tom Summers,
Yes.
Secretary Webb.
Yes.
I think I skipped Matt. Did I skip you, Matt?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Okay. Sorry, I tried to leave the officers through last. So I got Secretary Webb, Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Price.
Yes.
Okay, this motion passes. Thank you all. We'll move forward with updating the membership criteria form to start recruiting for the county and National City folks. I do want to mention that if, you know, as the example of Lemon Grove was mentioned, if they were to join, you know, per CPUC rules, if they vote to join us next year, they wouldn't be eligible to serve, for us to be serving them until 2024. So it takes a long time and it's quite a lengthy process. Obviously, we can seat members before then, but as Rita mentioned, we can evaluate the increase in size when we get there. So thank you all. Thank you, Chair Price.
Thank you. Item number 6, discuss and provide input on phase 3 residential enrollment public relations strategy.
That's me.
Apologies, I got the item number wrong on the slide. I'll fix it afterwards. And Rita, just let me know whenever you want to say next slide.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. So I'm going to be going over our phase 3 residential enrollment marketing and PR strategy. So this is just a couple of the tools that we have to build relationships and trust in the community. And this particular piece of business really relies on ambassadors like you all. And so I just want you to know that we need you. And I want you to please feel comfortable with contacting me with any ideas that you have. Also, thank you. A lot of you already have done this, and I hope that you can continue to reach out at any time that you have thoughts on where we should be or who we should be talking to. So I'll start with just some of our learnings from the phase 2 campaign. Overall, it was a successful multi-channel campaign. We found that for paid tactics, the most successful were social media, radio, and print. So we definitely want to continue that in phase 3. And we want to also support that paid media with organic social media, just to further our reach a little bit more. We definitely learned that our partnerships with, for example, the airport and Illumina created the most buzz and business engagement. So although the commercial and industrial enrollment phase is over, we want to continue to build on that momentum. And so I'll be touching on how you all can help with those partnerships a little bit later in the presentation. And finally, we have learned that phase 3 is going to take a lot more education and a lot more coming at folks from different angles. So we have a lot more people to reach and the awareness is going to be a little bit lower than what our commercial and industrial customers started with, because those customers are paying a little bit more attention to their energy bills. Next slide. So this is just a quick snapshot of creative concepts that we're working on for phase 3. So on the left, you have the My Reasons concept. This would be tailored for each of the cities to infuse that sense of local pride. It also provides us an opportunity to feature testimonials from actual people. So I'll get into that later too, as far as how the CAC can help us with that. We basically want to create some case studies from community leaders that people can relate to and trust. And then on the right, we have the oh yeah and concept. So this is all about the idea of dropping into the middle of two neighbors having a conversation. And we're developing messages now based on some behavioral research that we've done. But so far, both of these concepts have received a lot of positive reactions. Next slide. So this is just our paid media mix. We added Nextdoor as one of our social media channels. We have learned from other CCAs that this is a place where there's a lot of misinformation that gets shared. And so we're really lucky to be able to learn from other CCAs, as well as have people on our teams that have been through this process and have seen what has worked and what hasn't worked. And Nextdoor is a big one. So we included that in our social media. We've also added more culturally diverse local print publications. So we've added in the Filipino press, Vietnamese publication, and a Chinese publication. And finally, we've introduced billboards and convenience stores into the mix. This is something new, and our PR agency, Civilian, is helping us set all that up. Next slide. So here's our rollout strategy. This is still being fine-tuned. And in fact, we're considering actually shifting the city-specific paid media a week later so that we are coinciding with when people get their bills a little bit more. So it'll take a while for people to actually get their bills and see our names on their bill. So we want to try to lengthen when we're doing that city-specific outreach. The region-wide paid strategy will start in January. And from now until January, we're going to be trying to do as much organic social media as possible. Next slide. So this is public relations and outreach. And we're going to be starting with the launch of the PR campaign in February with press releases and outreach to local and even national outlets. Part of this strategy is a partner toolkit. So each of you will get this. Basically, it's an email with links to different assets. So this would be prepared social media posts, our logo, any articles or fact sheets, anything that you can use. Depending on your comfort level, you can cut and paste it, or maybe it just gets your wheels turning about how to create your own messages to help us further our reach and help us tell our story. Also, with your permission, we'd like to produce some bylined articles from the CAC members. So basically, our PR agency would reach out to each of you and interview you and then draft an article. And if you approve it, then we would ask local publications to run them. The Power 100 profiles and open houses, I'm going to get into a little bit later, but basically that's also a city-specific thing. For each city, we'd like to highlight either a business that's gone to become a Power 100 champion, or highlight a person or group of people that have positive things to say about us that each local city can relate to. We definitely want to increase our presence at local events. You can see in these photos, we've got Gary and Lucas and Encinitas, and then that bottom photo is Nelson presenting to Green Drinks, a local sustainability group. Thank you to the members who have let me know when there's opportunities like this. We've been to quite a few in the past few weeks, and I can't tell you how effective it is just to talk to someone face to face. So looking to do more of that. And then at the very end of the residential enrollment, we want to share the combined impact of all 5 city launches. And right now we're just brainstorming ideas on how to do that, how to keep people engaged after the enrollment phase is over. Next slide. So finally, this is where I'd like to request support from the CAC. A lot of this you're already doing, so thank you again. Suggesting local events or speaking opportunities, like I just mentioned. Recommending community publications or communication channels. Maybe there's a newspaper that you're familiar with that's popular in your neighborhood. If you could let me know, that would be great. Propose individuals or businesses to be featured in that My Reasons campaign. So this could be a business that you know of who's interested in being featured in your city's rollout as a Power 100 champion, or maybe it's just someone who would like to provide a testimonial quote that we could use for the campaign. And finally, just to please share our information among your personal and professional networks. You're all leaders in your community and respected. So this is where that toolkit will come in handy for you. And it might be more than one toolkit, as just to remind you that we need help spreading the word. That's all I have. I see that Anna has a question.
Actually, it was, you kind of touched on it. You talked about interviewing the CAC members to do things in local newspapers. Well, my thought going through this was, your PR company can write a press release, and then each press release could be geared toward that community. So it'd be kind of because press releases are not paid. Press releases, are featured for just like organizations like this when there's something new and happening. And also I thought of the patch. I don't know if everyone gets this. It's an online newspaper, but ours is called the Imperial Beach Patch.
Yes.
And I think I signed up as a writer on there, but you can write articles and submit them, and there's no cost. So I think
For that reminder, yes. I think that the patch has even shared some of our press releases before. So thank you for that.
Sure. Thank you. I'll send you the name of our little paper here. It's also here and in Coronado.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had my hand up.
I agree.
So I'll jump in. First of all, I want to tell the rest of the committee that I really enjoyed working the table with Rita at the Eco Fest at Encinitas. And it was a great experience. I just want to mention, there's this confusion which seems to be continuing for me as to the rollout for different cities, because you showed Encinitas in March, La Mesa in April, and the website still shows it reversed. So just yeah, let's figure out who's right.
That's my bad. That's my bad.
Sorry, I don't
No,
need to
thank you.
put you on
Thank
the
you
spot.
for catching that. Thank you for catching that.
Well, as long as I think it's more important to have the website right about that. So
Yes.
that's good.
Right.
Yeah. I'm done. Thanks. Thank you so much,
I
Rita.
will fix that. Thank you. David, do you have your hand up?
Yes. Great overview of the marketing strategy for the residential rollout. Just one personal comment and a pet peeve is billboards. I have to say that I believe billboards are huge distractions, and we already have too many distracted drivers on the roads these days. And half the billboards I see, I have no idea what they're trying to communicate because often the message isn't clear, or the print is too small, or other things like that. I just am not in favor of billboard advertising. But other than that, I think it's a great outreach strategy, and I'm really looking forward to cooperating with you and your and others who are involved in this.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback about the billboards too. Let's see, Jen. I don't know if I'm supposed to be calling on people or if the chair
That
should.
works.
So forgive me.
Well, we can look to you. Yeah, and I know that this is not something you asked for. I crafted an email just now with 4 things you did ask for, but I'm curious if you had thought at all about a campaign concept that related more to the Power 100 as the push. I know right now it's general awareness about CAC and about community power and what it is. But in my discussions with people and the way I position it, they're so excited about the opportunity to go to 100% renewable for such a small margin of difference. And I think that almost pushing that and then realizing, oh, I have to be a part of San Diego Community Power to do that is kind of backing them into being comfortable with this new change. But really, it's more that opportunity to be 100. Do you guys have that as a strategy?
I love that. Actually, I think the closest thing for this actual campaign would be the idea of choice. So making sure that it's not just about whether or not to opt out, but that you can also opt up to 100%. So I think that we could definitely do more with that. And that might be even a good thing to follow up with in the summer after everyone's already enrolled. And, oh, did you know, by the way, that you can be at 100% very easily. We're also doing, actually, Sebastian started this concept, which is literally called the Did You Know series. So that would be a great thing to wrap into that at the beginning.
Also, if I may, I would humbly suggest that we integrate some of the necessities surrounding San Diego Community Power, meaning, these municipalities achieving their climate action goals and all that kind of stuff. And if we're going to achieve all that, this is almost a mandatory thing to do.
And I would add along those lines that one of the things I think can engage people is to have an ongoing monitoring or account showing how much greenhouse gas emissions have been saved by people being part of SDCP rather than our competitor. Because that's something that's actually measurable based on how much renewable energy they provide, only 31% versus SDCP between 50 and 100%. So in those things that go out weekly or something like that on social media, having something that shows how much progress is being made toward our clean energy goals.
That is great. We have been talking about like a report card, not literally showing grades, but what you're saying is showing progress. So I think that would definitely get people's attention.
Or perhaps something on the front of our website, a thing there's a better word for it than thing, but I think y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, a dashboard that has it like a gas thing that shows how close we're getting or how much movement we're making that somebody can see at a glance. Because I think it's very important that, you know, people and clients and customers understand that this is, you know, we're moving towards a renewable future, and we're exacerbating that process.
Right, I see Tom.
Yeah, boy, the last three commenters from my colleagues have really hit the nail on the head. I definitely enjoy the competition between us and the monopoly. And I was just wondering, I know that we have to play nice with these guys. And at times I feel like they're not playing nice with us. I guess my point is, are we going to like adopt something like what Jen mentioned and what Eddie is mentioning? And is it going to be a part of our attitude going forward of stepping up the pressure on SDG&E? I like I said, I get the lay of the land here. We're kind of at their mercy, but I also feel like it's time to begin thinking about taking off the gloves. And so Rita, does this topic come up when you have your staff get-togethers about this? I'm curious to hear what staff would respond to my comment about being a little bit more aggressive with these guys.
You know, I can't really say that we've broken it down this specifically as far as marketing goes. I think what we're trying to do is walk a fine line of making people feel comfortable with change right now. So I think that in the big picture, yeah, we want to show that we have a superior product. But for this awareness piece, I think it's really about making people feel comfortable.
Okay.
And I think that there's definitely a time to get people fired up and more engaged and keep their attention. And we can do that with different creative ways. Definitely this measurement idea is something that we'll be using so that people can know what kind of a dent they're collectively making.
Good. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Anna and Gary, if I may, I would humbly suggest that staff in your department actually look at a narrative in case SDG&E decides to fire first, right? And so that we can we have a canned response to whatever they may come out with, because they've been known to shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah, we got to shoot back.
Anna?
Yes, and to that, absolutely. But to that, I mean, for quite a while now, the big energy companies have done a really good job of this underlying disinformation campaign where they make it sound like clean energy is not reliable. When there was the hurricane in Houston, that was on the national news, that people there were blaming it on the green energy and the solar. It failed. No, the grid failed. You know, so I think, as Chair Price stated, having some, I've been in sales most of my life, having some rebuttals, you know, some feathers, rebuttals in your quiver are good to have, because these things will eventually come up. And they may not be stated, but they may also come out in a nasty Facebook post, you know, green energy isn't reliable. What are you guys thinking, you know? So I think it would be good for us to be prepared, even if it's not something that the marketing folks are strategizing. I think within this committee, we could probably come up with 3 or 4 things that would be helpful just to have and to be able to fire back with.
I'm hearing you.
Mhm.
Gary?
Mute. There, I'm unmuted. Well, I certainly understand Tom's comments and also Anna's. And I felt I was in the trenches going back even 4 years ago when my local colleagues and I were countering the disinformation that Sempra was putting out. And they always did it in sneaky ways. And there is no reason why we can't counter that. But they always do it not as SDG&E, but as other entities or getting other civic entities to front what they're doing. And that's what we have to counter, number one. But the other point I want to make, and this point was made to me by, and I think you all know that my connection to this committee now at this time kind of ran through activism that was organized by the Sierra Club. And had a comment from one of the Sierra Club organizers quite recently that we need to keep the temperature down in terms of regarding SDG&E in specific. We should regard them as our linemen and our billing office. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of respect in the community for the workers of SDG&E. And we want to be careful not to say we're, against the linemen that are keeping our electricity coming. So I would favor, again, a nuanced approach where we're always playing nice with SDG&E and how they're helping us do the billing and how they're keeping the electricity rolling. But and then counter the disinformation that is always hidden at least one reach away from SDG&E. That's it.
Thank you. Am I missing anyone?
I think Eddie's looking for the unmute button. There you go.
I was just looking to see if anybody else had their hand. Oh, Gary, your hand is still up. You don't have any further comments, do you? And Rita, do you have any more, ma'am?
That's all I have.
Okay. And so we don't really have to do, this was just informational.
This is just for your information, and if something comes up that we didn't think of today, please let me know and I'll wrap in everything I can.
Okay. Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
that.
much. Thank you very much. I believe we can move on to item number 7 now. Discussion of potential agenda items for Board of Directors meetings.
Yes, Chair, just want to give you a friendly reminder if there's any member of the public that wants to raise their hand and have public comment on this item, they can certainly do so. But seeing none.
So now can we move on to number 7? Sorry?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So item number 7, as I just.
Tara has raised her hand. I think you
Yeah.
didn't see it.
Hi, Tara.
Hi. For number 10, I have my hand raised, but should I jump in?
Sure.
Great. For those who listened to the last board meeting, there are a lot of public comments and a few of us made some about the CEO search that is currently going on. I believe we all received the email that the RFP was extended So a firm hasn't been hired yet, but I think there's still opportunities where I would like us to get updates. And I would recommend for the next board meeting to address a few things that seem like have been unaddressed. One would be, are we getting a CAC member on the search committee? I know it's something we've discussed a couple of times. I've heard public comments about it as well, and I hope so. Two, at the last two board meetings, there were public comments asking for the JPA to be amended, a small technicality, so Cody Hooven can apply. And the board thanked the public for making comments, but did not address that whatsoever. And their vote was to amend the JPA to include the county and national city, but didn't address this one phrase or one word that would be amended. And so hearing what their plan is, or if they're not amending it, why not? Just addressing the public that's been requesting that update. And even though the RFP has been requested, the third would be, what's the rough timeline? I know they had extended Bill's contract, but it would just be nice to know, when are we expecting the new CEO to take office? Is there overlap with Bill to do training? Just some specifics, or even if it's what is the plan and it could change with the firm, I think would be appreciated.
Thank you. And if I may add, sometimes I get the feeling that the board doesn't really respect or appreciate what the Community Advisory Committee does. And our suggestions or requests aren't even taken into account when they're making some of these moves. And we're just kind of a box to be checked. And that doesn't sit well with me. I don't know how the other members of this committee feel. But I really didn't join this committee, let alone become its chair, just to be a box to be checked. I think we have some very valid, crucial information to bring to the board, and it's acting like that's just not being heard or acted upon or respected. As a matter of fact, from what I hear from the last meeting, one of the board members kind of went off the deep end, saying that, you know, a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. And, you know, we're ill-informed or uninformed, whether it's the Community Advisory Committee or members of the public. And I would humbly submit that everybody that's on those calls is extremely informed, which is why they're on those calls. And I would like to find a way to make sure that we as Community Advisory Committee members representing our various municipalities were being heard and respected. And I'm just not getting that feeling right now. So I just wanted to insert that. If that makes it to the board, I'd have no problem with that. David, your hand is up.
Yes, I was listening to that meeting, and I don't think the board was allowed to respond to the public comment because it would have been a Brown Act violation. They didn't agendize that particular amendment that Tara was suggesting. And so for them to discuss an amendment that wasn't on the agenda specifically might be a Brown Act violation. The other thing is that I think perhaps a better strategy for us on this particular issue would be to talk to our individual board members about this, because often personnel issues can't be discussed in public forums without creating some sort of conflicts of interest for those who might then serve on a hiring committee. And I'm just saying this from the point of view of somebody who used to work in the public sector, that I understand what Chair Price is saying about how the board is sometimes unresponsive, but and I don't appreciate the comment that they made about it being that we don't understand the issue. I just think that there are some reasons that they are not discussing this openly. That's it.
Thank you. Tom, you know, you look eerily similar to Charles Summers. Did you know that?
Yeah, split personality.
Okay.
But you know what, Eddie, Chair Price, pardon me, I really appreciate what you just said. I have long felt the same way. Perhaps I have a suspicious mind, but one thing I don't want to be played. And I have felt that there was the potential of being a rubber stamp as opposed to being an advisor. So yeah, thank you for injecting that comment, and also to Tara's point of addressing that particular issue. It needs to be addressed, and it needs to be, if we have to agendize it today, I'm in favor of doing so. Thanks.
Thank you. Gary? You're on mute, Gary.
It takes 2 clicks or something. I don't know what's up. I was hoping Sebastian was going to chime in on the issue of the change that Tara was trying to get at the board meeting. And the comments that were not being listened to, but in fact, I understand, as it was David, right? You said that if it's not agendized, they can't take action. Sebastian, can you tell us if the board is considering this change that possibly would allow Cody Hooven to be considered?
So I don't know, Rita, do you want to take over this one?
I would just simply say we don't have that information.
I would also like to add that I believe, if memory serves me correctly, that we made a request to the board in a timely fashion to actually have a conversation about this. Now, that might have been my imagination, but I thought that's what we had did a month or 2 ago, which adds to the fact of not listening or respecting what we say. Okay.
Well, let me just finish off by saying I like the idea of each of us talking to our city representative that appointed us and maybe asking the question directly. It might be interesting to see. We could compare notes about what they tell us in response.
Those might be some interesting notes, Gary Johns. Some interesting notes.
Well, and it may be, yes, the comparison, any I'll say discrepancies in the comparison might be interesting.
Right. Are there any other, so should we vote, or should somebody make a motion that we request that this item, the change to the JPA, to allow as many people as possible, including Cody Hooven, to at least apply for this job is appropriate?
So this isn't, we're not allowed to vote on something that wasn't on our agenda, so we can't make the motion on this, but you can bring this up at the board meeting, letting them know that this was something we discussed, and Sebastian can chime in otherwise, but that's my understanding of our rules.
That's correct, Vice Chair and Chair. If you all want to keep the conversation going next month, do let me know at least a week or 2 in advance, or a week and a half, so we can properly agendize it. And then
what if we let you know now, Sebastian?
So it could be a discussion then, or if you all want to take a different direction, I would just need the specific wording and what's the end goal that you all are seeking from that agenda item. So feel free to follow up with Rita and myself. But as Vice Chair Hammond said today, the comments are part of public record. And so Eddie, you're welcome to bring these up next week.
Okay. but I'm not allowed to, we're not allowed to make it an agenda item on our next agenda next month right now.
You are. I just need like, what's the title of the agenda? It's just getting more into the specifics of like, okay, is it just a discussion? Are you guys seeking something else? And those kinds of specifics. But yes, certainly if you all want to continue the conversation, then we could create a separate item for that for next month.
Please. Thank you. Are there any other potential agenda items for the board? Okay. I almost feel guilty adjourning the meeting now. Well, nobody has.
Our next meeting will be extra long potentially, so I don't think you need to feel guilty.
Okay. So without any further ado, if there's nothing else, or if I've missed something, please let me know now. If I haven't, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
Chair Price, we have a section for committee member announcements in case.
Oh, okay. Number 8, are there any committee member announcements? Tom Summers?
Oh, thanks. Yes, I understand we're getting together. Some of us are getting together next week, and I just want to say I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys face to face.
Thank you. Also, I might add something. Myself and Rita and maybe any other board member and board members that are the committee members that are respective to the different municipalities. We're going to do a tour of all these different member cities to actually help the board members define their communities of concern and what are the options and opportunities in their own communities that maybe they don't see. So I just wanted to put that out there. So, you know, we'll be contacting the representatives from Imperial Beach, Chula Vista, San Diego, Encinitas, and La Mesa, just to have a conversation, a cup of coffee, and look around your community so that we become more familiar with these communities that we're talking about.
Excellent.
Matthew?
Thank you. I just wanted to elevate to the CAC members that the County of San Diego is developing and has put out a draft regional decarbonization plan or framework. This framework has a lot of technical analysis in it, but I really hope that some folks on the CAC can take a look at it and hopefully provide some input and advocate for local clean energy. So there's a website that's posted. I can send that to Sebastian or Eddie to distribute to folks. Equally important, the city of San Diego is updating their climate action plan, and they just dropped a draft. And again, any input and support for clean energy and local clean energy would be appreciated there as well. So 2 very big plans and frameworks out. Just would love to get more community input and eyes, especially from great clean energy advocates like you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Matthew, from your being involved in both of those, are there any of the issues that go together or are diametrically opposed to each other in the different plans?
There's a lot of high-level alignment, and I really think that with San Diego Community Power's Community Power Plan, there's going to be an opportunity to synchronize all of these things. So thank you for getting out there with Rita and having conversations with all those members to talk about their communities of concern, because we'll definitely want to, of course, elevate the equity component first and foremost. So, right now I'm not seeing any big red flags. It's just a matter of how do we continue to push for as much local clean energy within jurisdiction projects as possible.
Thank you. Any other committee comments?
I have one comment. So thank you, Matt, for mentioning the community power plan. This was just released, and we have the deadline for RFPs is December 8th. My apologies, I don't believe an email has been sent. Oh, where did my screen go? Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay, sorry, it's kind of trippy. I'm gonna stop sharing. What is going on? Sorry, guys. Okay, so I'll be sending out an email with more information on the community power plan, so you all can distribute that for us among your networks. We're very excited for that. And then the other comment that I had is we have rescheduled the December meeting to the day before. That is December 9th on a Thursday at the same time at 1 p.m. So thank you all for being flexible in moving the meeting by one day forward or backwards. As Tara alluded, we are expecting that meeting to be a little bit longer. So fasten your seatbelts, it'll be fun. We'll wrap up the year in good fashion, I hope. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys that a heads up. And what is going on with my computer? Okay, that wraps it up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do, Sebastian, and all that you're going to do, Rita, because you ain't even really got started yet. We got a whole bunch of shit for you to do. You just let you get your feet wet right now, but once your feet get wet, ooh-wee. Okay, so can I end the meeting now, or does anybody else have anything to say?
Matt's hand's raised, but I'm not sure if that's from earlier. It's from earlier. Never mind. All right, well, everyone have a good weekend.
Yeah, everyone
Yes,
have a good weekend.
you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.